After a century of fighting a losing battle, everything begins to change when a boy named Eren Yeager discovers a mysterious power, the ability to transform into a Titan. Within the safety of the walls, a young boy named Eren Yeager wakes up in tears from a dream. His companion, Mikasa Ackerman, worriedly questions him, but Eren is unable to recall the details of his dream. While making their way back to their home, they hear the ringing of bells announcing the return of the Survey Corps. Elite soldiers who venture outside the walls, seeking ways to fight back against the Titans. They arrive only to find a morose and decimated Survey Corps making their way back after a failed expedition outside the wall that yielded nothing of value. Back at the Yeager's residence, Eren and Mikasa join Eren's father, Dr. Yeager, and his wife Carla for lunch. Soon after their return, Dr. Yeager announces his departure to attend to patients in the interior. Mikasa, against Eren's wishes, reveals his plan to join the Survey Corps, provoking a furious outburst from his mother. His father, declaring that the human spirit of inquiry can never be stifled, promises to finally reveal the secrets he has kept hidden in his basement upon his return. After his father's departure, Eren has another argument with his mother and leaves, only to run into his friend Armin being bullied by a group of boys. Eren, and particularly Mikasa's arrival, freak the boys out, who bid a hasty retreat. The three friends sit together and Armin explains that Eren's desire to explore beyond the walls brands him a heretic in the eyes of the public. With the walls having secured humanity's safety for 100 years, the government has prohibited any curiosity about the outside world. Suddenly, a burst of lightning strikes, making the ground tremble, followed by a resounding noise, stirring anxiety amongst the citizens. Rushing into the open streets, they bear witness to the largest Titan ever seen emerging from outside the city's wall. The dumbstruck crowd watches as the Titan lifts its leg and kicks, shattering the wall and scattering the debris. Chaos ensues as Titans flood into the breached city. Eren and Mikasa desperately rush back home only to find it crushed beneath a massive boulder with Carla trapped underneath. Their frantic attempts to free her are to no avail. Despite his mother's insistence he flee with Mikasa, Eren persists, determined to save her, but their exchange is cut short by an approaching Titan. A soldier and friend of the family, Hans, arrives, grabs the children and runs. Watching them depart, Carla quietly begs for them not to go. Eren, consumed by despair, bears witness to the Titan crushing his mother's back, before biting her in half and showering the air with her blood. As Titans feast on the populace of the city, Eren emerges from his shocked stupor and assaults Hans, berating him for abandoning Carla. A tearful Hans apologizes for his cowardice, which stops Eren in his tracks and prompts tears of his own. He grabs Eren and Mikasa's hands and leads them toward the inner wall, where citizens are being evacuated. Armin, aboard, scans the throngs of refugees and spots Eren and Mikasa, but upon catching the dead look in their eyes, finds himself unable to call out to them. The ship fills up and begins to depart when Titans start to approach the dock. The citizenry panic and scramble to make their way onto the boat. Soldiers start closing the gates in an attempt to cut off the Titans, but their efforts are for naught as a unique armor Titan smashes through the inner wall. Fueled by hatred, Eren vows to annihilate every single Titan from existence. In a dreamlike state, Eren watches his father frantically administer him with a mysterious syringe while entrusting him with the key to their basement. Mikasa rouses Eren from his reverie, and he discreetly conceals the basement key hanging around his neck, then joins Mikasa and Armin to collect their rations. With rations now running out, the central government enlists 250,000 refugees for a military campaign to reclaim Wall Maria, which ends in catastrophe with only 100 survivors returning. Although the food scarcity eases, in the wake of this disastrous mission, Eren, Mikasa, and Armin resolve to join the training corps and earn their freedom with their own hands. The following year, the trio enter the newly established 104th Training Corps under the command of Keith Sades, an unrelenting instructor tasked with whipping the young recruits into shape over the next 3 years. On their first day as cadets, the members of the Corps learn that Eren was from Shiganshina, the district attacked by the Colossal Titan. They excitedly question him about the day of the attack, until one of the questions triggers his memory of his mother's death, making him sick. To hide his discomfort, Eren confidently declares his intention to enlist in the Survey Corps and exterminate all Titans. He is interrupted by Jean Kirstein, who mocks Eren's decision and expresses his own desire to join the military police for a comfortable life within the interior walls. The tension escalates as the two prepare to fight but are interrupted by the dinner bell. The next day, the cadets begin practicing with the omnidirectional mobility gear developed to allow humans to fight Titans. Eren struggles to maintain stability despite receiving extra tutoring from both Armin and Mikasa, with his persistence only resulting in him knocking himself unconscious. At dinner, the other cadets mock him, particularly after his declaration to slay all Titans. Returning to the dorm, Eren, alongside Armin, goes to seek help from Reiner Braun and Berthold Hoover. Though they're unable to give him any helpful tips, the four bond over their shared experiences of first-hand encounters with Titans. They go out for a walk where they share their common goal of joining the military and subsequently become friends. The next day, Eren gets a final opportunity to pass the test under the watchful eyes of Sades. For a few moments, Eren is able to maintain balance, eliciting cheers from his peers. However, he quickly flips upside down again. As he sits in shock at his failure, the Commandant tells Eren to switch his gear with another cadet. Eren flawlessly maintains balance, and Sades reveals that his gear had been broken from the beginning, impressing everyone. 2 years pass as the cadets improve in skill, with a few standouts excelling over the rest. One day, during hand-to-hand combat practice, Eren and Reiner notice Annie Leonhardt sneaking off to avoid training, and Reiner, after provoking her, sends Eren in to fight with her. Annie drops him in a couple of moves and turns to Reiner, who attempts to back away. His retreat, however, is blocked off by a pissed-off Eren, forcing him to fight only to be immediately taken down as well. Haha. At dinner, Eren overhears Jean talking about efficiently using the gas in the ODM gear and how advanced techniques like this would allow him to be ranked higher and join the military police. Angered by Jean's self-centered behavior, Eren gets into a fight with him and uses one of Annie's disarmament techniques. He tells the enraged Jean that he picked up this technique while Jean was busy slacking off. The day of graduation arrives, and the top 10 out of 218 graduates are announced. Krista Lenz, Sasha Brous, Connie Springer, Marco Bott, Jean, Eren, Annie, Berthold, Reiner, and the top of the class, Mikasa. The graduates are asked to pick which of the 3 regiments they wish to join. The garrison, responsible for fortifying the walls and defending the towns, the Survey Corps, who venture outside the walls, or the military police, which governs the citizenry and only accepts recruits from the top 10 graduates. Thomas Wagner questions Eren's decision to join the Survey Corps, which he sees as a hopeless struggle. Eren argues that the knowledge about Titans was gained at the expense of those who died, and that to throw away their sacrifice would be a disgrace. He angrily storms out and is comforted by Armin and Mikasa, who reveal they will also join the Survey Corps. Eren tries to dissuade them, but both are firm in their decision. The next day, the graduates mingle among a crowd of people cheering the main force of the Survey Corps as they pass, including the regiment commander, Erwin Smith, Captain Levi, and section commander, Zoe. Later, the graduates go up on wall rows to maintain the cannons, where some of them, including Connie and Thomas, reveal their intention to join the Survey Corps after hearing Eren's speech. Eren, filled with hope for the future, looks over the city, when lightning hits the ground outside of the wall and the Colossal Titan appears once more. The intense heat released from its body throws everyone off the wall, where most are able to reorient themselves and latch onto the wall. The shocked graduates look over to see that the wall has once again been destroyed, but Eren rallies them with a mighty roar before leaping onto the wall and confronting the Colossal Titan for the first time in 5 years. With but a swipe of its arms, the Colossal Titan destroys the cannons placed on the wall. Seeing this, Eren realizes the Colossal Titan is intelligent. With his ODM gear, Eren flies behind the Titan to strike at the back of its neck, the only known weak spot of all Titans. Just as he is about to strike, the colossal Titan releases a huge amount of hot steam, pushing Eren back. He attempts to close in once more, slashing through the steam, only to find the Titan has disappeared. Emergency evacuations are immediately carried out to bring citizens away from the destroyed wall, while soldiers blockade the opening and prepare to deal with the Titans that will spill through. The troops are divided into vanguard, middle guard, and rear guard sections, with the 104th Training Corps being placed in the middle guard. News is also disseminated that Titans have already invaded the city and wiped out the vanguard. The middle guard is ordered to lay down their lives to ensure the safe evacuation of the citizenry. Mikasa is assigned to the rear guard as an elite unit to serve as the last line of defense. Eren and the rest of the middle guard get into position where Eren playfully tells Armin that today is a good opportunity to make a splash and rise up the ranks of the Survey Corps. This lifts the spirits of the other squad members, and they all rush in to prove themselves. Suddenly, an abnormal Titan jumps out at them, moving out of its way. The squad turn back to find Thomas being held in the Titan's mouth and look on in horror as the Titan devours him. Enraged, Eren charges forward to attack the Titan, only for another one to jump out of nowhere, biting his leg off. More and more Titans appear, slowly killing everyone horrifically, one by one. In shock at what he's witnessing, Armin finds himself unable to move as a Titan picks him up and puts him in his mouth. A half-conscious Eren sees this and recalls a childhood memory of Armin excitedly showing him a book that talks of something called an ocean, located outside the walls. They both look at the book and dream of one day seeing the outside world. Now lucid, Eren grabs Armin's hand, throwing him out of the Titan's mouth. Eren looks over at Armin and tells him he won't die yet, as he still hasn't seen the outside world. Armin urges him to move, but the Titan shuts its mouth and devours Eren. Overseeing the evacuation, Mikasa starts to reminisce about her childhood. She remembers a rainy day she spent embroidering with her mother when somebody knocked on the door to their house. Her dad, mentioning that it must be Dr. Yeager, moves to open it.
Hi!
Outside in the rain, Eren and Grisha Yeager knock on the Ackerman's door. Grisha tells Eren that the family has a daughter named Mikasa, who's about his age, so he should get along with her. They enter the house, only to find both of Mikasa's parents dead. Grisha hurries to report the incident to the military police and tells Eren to wait for him at the base of the mountain. Meanwhile, in a secluded cabin, two men discuss how they'll be able to sell Mikasa for a high price because she's the last of the Oriental people. The door suddenly opens and Eren timidly enters, telling the two that he got lost in the forest. A man goes up to him and pretends to comfort him when Eren pulls out a knife and stabs him in the throat. Shocked, the other man gets up as Eren exits, closing the door behind him. The man angrily opens the door to chase him, only to find Eren running at him with a knife. Mikasa looks over in shock to see Eren stabbing the man over and over again in a fit of rage. With the man now dead, Eren introduces himself to Mikasa and unties her when they suddenly hear footsteps. A third man comes in, hits Eren, and begins to choke him. Gasping for breath, Eren tells Mikasa to fight, telling her that she'll never win if she doesn't fight. Mikasa grabs the knife, and Eren's words make something click in her mind, giving her a sudden clarity and complete control of her body.
その瞬間、体の震えが私は自分を完璧に支配できた。何でもできると思った。
With a single powerful stab, she kills the man. Dr. Yeager arrives at the scene with the military police and scolds Eren for not considering his own safety. Grisha then invites Mikasa to come live with them, and Eren gives Mikasa a red scarf in order to keep herself warm. In the present day, the bell signaling the end of the evacuation is rung, and Mikasa immediately leaves to support the remnants of the decimated middle guard. With the relentless assault on Trost worsening, the leadership decide to abandon HQ and retreat to safety under the guise of organizing reinforcements. This causes the supply squad in HQ to lose their spirit and lock themselves in the building, which is now surrounded by Titans. Thanks to this, many squads, including Jean and Connie's, are stuck on rooftops, unable to retreat due to diminished levels of gas in their ODM gear. Mikasa, having gotten a handle on the situation, arrives on scene and asks Annie's team if they've seen Eren. Reiner points to the side where Armin is sitting alone, overcome with guilt. Armin tearfully lists the names of all of his squad members, declaring them killed in action. Silence befalls all the soldiers standing there, and they begin to lose hope, while Armin apologizes to Mikasa. However, Mikasa, seemingly emotionless, tells him to calm down and begins rallying the troops to stage an attack on the Titans surrounding HQ. Mikasa, launching herself into action, begins skillfully dispatching all of the Titans in her path. Armin notices she's expending too much gas and comes to the realization that she's using combat as a way to cope. Mikasa crashes onto the street below, where Armin and Connie rush to rescue her, with Jean assuming the vanguard role in her place. Landing on a market tent, Mikasa sits blankly in despair while a Titan approaches. Seemingly resigned to her fate, she's surprised when her body moves to dodge its attacks. She wonders why she continues to struggle and recalls Eren's words from her childhood, telling her to fight. Another Titan approaches her from behind, trapping her on both sides, promising Eren that she won't give up, because if she dies, she'll never be able to remember him. She raises her swords, ready to strike, when the charging Titan behind her suddenly punches the other one, obliterating its jaw and throwing it several yards away. Dazed, Mikasa looks on as the Titan proceeds to stomp its defeated opponent to death. Armin spots Mikasa and brings her up to a rooftop where they're joined by Connie. All three look on in shock as the sleek Titan takes a combat stance and punches another Titan with such force that its decapitated head flies off into the distance. This mysterious newcomer continues its rampage, and Armin notes its indifference toward the three. Despite Mikasa's protest, Armin replaces her empty gas canisters with his and gives her his blades. Watching the mysterious Titan gives Armin an idea. He proposes that Mikasa and Connie lure it towards headquarters and have it kill all other Titans which cross its path. Though hesitant at first, Mikasa and Connie agree to the strategy and assist the monster in killing all of the nearby Titans. With no other enemies nearby, the Titan instinctually turns to the place with the highest concentration of Titans, the HQ. Meanwhile, Jean and his group, despite some casualties, make their way into the HQ through the upper floor windows. There, Jean angrily confronts members of the supply squad for leaving them all to die. They're interrupted when Titans start breaking through the windows, forcing cadets to evacuate into the interior. Just as Jean begins to lose faith, Mikasa and the rest arrive with the powerful Titan in tow, who incapacitates two Titans with a single punch. Now, with the exceptional Titan rampaging outside, the building is protected from attacks, allowing cadets to move down to the gas supply room. Following a plan designed by Armin, they manage to eliminate the 7 Titans infesting the room by blinding them with firearms, and then having 7 soldiers dispatch them before they can react. The cadets, shaken but nevertheless elated, refuel their gas tanks and finally begin to retreat. Mikasa, however, remains fixated on the rather mysterious Titan, which is now overwhelmed and being eaten by multiple Titans. The core cadet group ultimately decide to assist the Titan so it can be studied and serve as a potential ally. While Jean expresses his reservations, Armin looks over and sees the aberrant that killed Thomas walking towards them. The mysterious Titan notices it too and is enraged by it. It sacrifices both its arms to its attackers and bites the other Titan to death. Before letting out a final roar and collapsing. To everyone's astonishment, a figure begins to emerge from the nape of its neck, who turns out to be Eren, unconscious, but alive. Mikasa, in tears, rushes down to embrace him. The group bring Eren up to a rooftop for safety and gather around him. Armin notes that Eren has regenerated his missing limbs and grips his hand, breaking down in tears. Still immersed in the instincts which drove his transformed self to attack the Titans, Eren wakes up, stating he'll kill them all, with a smile on his lips, only to realize that he's surrounded by 10 soldiers, with Mikasa and Armin shielding him. Taking his words to signify his aggression towards them, the nervous soldiers grow agitated while Eren looks around in confusion. Mikasa seizes Eren, hoping to retreat. In that crucial moment, Eren's gaze falls upon his father's key protruding from his shirt. Memories flood back, as he recalls his father entrusting him with the key and administering an injection which meddled with his memory of the event. His father tells him that he must go to the basement to find all the answers and assures Eren his memories will guide him in wielding his newfound powers. With a cannonball being fired at them, time appears to slow as Eren instinctively bites into his hand, forming an incomplete Titan shell around Mikasa and Armin. The smoke clears and everyone stares in horror at the sight of Eren's creation. The sound of the cannonball brings in soldiers from the vicinity to check up on the disturbance, including Jean's group. Eren emerges from the back of the partially formed Titan, jumps down to talk to Mikasa and Armin. The Titan body dissolves around them, producing steam and smoke and obscuring everyone's vision. He informs the two of the partial return of his memories and the fact that the basement of his home may well hold the key to answering the mystery of the Titans. Certain the soldiers will not listen to him after what he just did, he reveals his plan of turning back into a Titan to escape outside the wall and make his way to his old home. But his nose begins to bleed, and Armin notes that the transformation is clearly taking a toll on his body. With things coming to a head, Eren asks Armin if he can come up with some way to convince the soldiers of his trustworthiness and to cooperate, noting that this would be the best possible outcome for the future of humanity. Stunned but touched by this unexpected confidence in his abilities, Armin resolves to undertake the mission, while the cannon is ready for another shot. Emerging from the smoky haze, Armin confronts the assembled soldiers, fervently attempting to persuade them that Eren is not an enemy, but a vital asset. He cites Eren's recent battle against the Titans, highlighting how the other Titans themselves viewed him as an enemy. Though Armin's convincing and earnest plea appears to work on the soldiers, Werman, consumed by fear, dismisses his claims and commands his troops to prepare for an attack. With his back against the wall, Armin passionately salutes, making one last plea by proposing the recapture of the city using Eren's formidable abilities. The soldiers urge Werman to consider, but he remains obstinate and begins to signal the cannon. Mercifully, before his order can go through, he's interrupted by Commander Pixis, the top commanding officer of the Southern Territory. He orders that everyone stand down, expressing his desire to hear what Eren and the others have to say. Pixis has the three accompany him to the top of the wall, where he listens to Eren explain his reawakened memories, and Armin points out that Eren could be used to move a massive boulder and seal the breach in the gate, preventing more Titans from entering the city. Pixis asks Eren if he's willing to attempt this daunting task. Gazing behind him at the small amount of territory humanity has left, Eren accepts the mission. When news of the plan to reclaim Trost reaches the soldiers, many become disheartened. Understandably doubtful of their ability to accomplish such a feat, panic begins to spread, ultimately threatening to turn into mass desertion. As chaos unfolds below them, Pixis assumes his position atop the wall and yells out his plan to retake Trost, captivating everyone's attention. He introduces Eren as the product of top-secret government experiments which have granted him the ability to create and control a Titan's body. Simultaneously, Armin details the plan to exploit the Titan's attraction to a large group of humans by luring them to a corner of the wall opposite to Trost, minimizing direct contact and employing wall-mounted cannons to eliminate them. Meanwhile, a select group of elite soldiers will safeguard Eren as he moves the boulder to seal the breach. On the ground, Pixis' plan is met with resistance and disbelief, and numerous soldiers begin abandoning their posts, opting to spend their final days with their loved ones instead. Werman, seeking to regain order, prepares to execute the deserters. Before he can act, Pixis interjects, offering pardons to those who choose to leave. But he tells the departing crowd that by leaving, they're subjecting their loved ones to eventually face the Titans themselves. This prompts the soldiers to reconsider, and they ultimately return to their positions. Pixis assigns 3 elite squads led by Ian Dietrich, Rico Berzenka, and Matabi Jarnak to protect Eren, with Ian serving as team leader. Off to the side, Armin apologizes to Eren, having burdened his friend with the responsibility of saving humanity. Eren reassures Armin, expressing unwavering faith in his strategic capabilities. Ian calls out to Mikasa and assigns her to Eren's protection group, deeming her skills to be crucial for the upcoming fight. The operation begins to unfold, with Eren, Mikasa, and their small contingent navigating toward the target location. Meanwhile, groups of soldiers venture into the Titan-infested city and try to lure the Titans away while others hang on the side of the wall above the Titans' reach, all to keep them confined to that section. Despite their best efforts to keep their encounters risk-free, 1/5 of the soldiers still end up losing their lives in this operation. To the elite team's relief, however, the plan works and their path remains unobstructed by Titans. Commander Pixis addresses the soldiers in the crowd, emphasizing that their success will mark humanity's first triumph against the Titans. With skillful ODM maneuvering, Eren and the others rush over to the boulder, where he once again bites his hand and transforms. Mikasa stands atop a rooftop behind him, confident he will succeed, when Eren suddenly turns around and, to her shock, attacks her instead. Mikasa skillfully evades Eren's punches and, despite Ian's insistence to retreat, confronts Eren face to face in an effort to communicate. Rico signals the plan's failure with a red flare, while Eren attempts to punch Mikasa once more, only to hit himself and falling to the ground. Now, with the disturbance attracting multiple Titans to their location, the elite team consider retreating, much to Mikasa's anger. From atop the walls, the soldiers witness the crimson flare. Armin sees it and decides to make his way to the location. Despite his soldiers' insistence, Pixis orders them to continue luring the Titans away, placing unwavering trust in the elite squad and their determination not to surrender so easily. Despite Rico and Mitabi urging him to retreat, Ian commands them to deal with the Titans approaching their position, asserting that abandoning Eren is not an option, as he represents humanity's hope. Though she has little faith in Eren, Rico ultimately agrees that they have no other alternative. The three leave to fight, entrusting Eren to Mikasa. Inside the Titan, Eren is disoriented and barely conscious. He opens his eyes, only to find himself back home with his parents and with Mikasa. Meanwhile, Armin arrives, discovering an injured Eren in his Titan form. Titans, attracted to Eren, begin swarming the location with the elite team rushing around, trying to eliminate as many as possible. Mikasa spots Armin and informs him of the plan's failure and Eren's lack of control over the Titan. Armin decides to cut Eren out of the Titan and stabs him in the nape of the neck. Piercing Eren's human arm within, causing the Titan to wake up and thrash wildly. He instructs Mikasa to help the others deal with the Titans and attempts to communicate with Eren. In his confused state, Eren sees Armin standing outside his house's window screaming things he can't quite understand. But as Armin continues to persist, memories start to flood back into Eren's head. At another location, John and the rest carry out the mission of luring Titans away. After a close shave, Annie and Connie successfully retreat away to the wall, but John's ODM gear malfunctions, leaving him with but no choice but to flee on foot. He seeks refuge in a building while a Titan walks around close by. Suddenly, he spots the lifeless body of a soldier still wearing intact gear. He tries to replace his gear, but is spotted by the Titan. However, before he can be attacked, his teammates come to his rescue. After a series of harrowing encounters, they manage to safely retreat with Jean in tow. Meanwhile, Armin continues speaking to Eren, reminding him that they promised they would see the outside world together one day. He asks Eren why he was always so determined to see the outside world, when all that might await them could be a living hell. Eren, now completely lucid, turns around and resolutely answers that it was simply because he was born to this world, and finally awakens with a resounding roar. The struggle to defend Eren reaches fever pitch, with nearly the entirety of Rico's squad being wiped out. Just as more Titans arrive from the hole in the wall and the situation becomes increasingly dire, the earth begins to shake, and everyone looks in awe to see Eren carrying the gigantic boulder towards the wall. Realizing that this is their ultimate chance for victory, Ian orders everyone to protect Eren at all costs, and John, Annie, Connie, and Marco descend from the wall to support Eren. Ian instructs Armin and Mikasa to go directly to Eren and prepare to join the battle himself. However, he's taken aback when he sees Mitabi and his squad engaging the Titans on the ground. Realizing this is the best option to keep the Titans occupied, Ian jumps to the ground himself and orders everyone to follow Mitabi's example. As Eren marches towards the hole, the soldiers continue luring the Titans, even as some are caught and killed, including both Mitabi and Ian, who heroically sacrifices their life to pull another soldier out of a Titan's jaw. Eren finally approaches the gate with one last Titan in his path that is eliminated by Rico slashing one of its eyes out, and Mikasa slicing it from behind. Eren slams the boulder down, successfully sealing the breach in trust. Rico, relieved and tearful, signals humanity's first victory against the Titans with a yellow flare, where Dot Pixis immediately orders reinforcements to rescue the elite team. With many Titans still close by, Mikasa and Armin retrieve Eren from his Titan body with Rico's help. Two Titans reach out to grab Armin, only to be instantly slayed by a mysterious soldier. This figure, bearing the symbol of the Survey Corps, ultimately reveals himself to be Captain Levi, humanity's strongest soldier. The Survey Corps, who had gone out on an expedition early that morning, had quickly returned upon hearing scout reports indicating a large number of Titans were moving towards Wall Rose. With their help, after a day-long fight, Trost is finally rid of all the Titans that had made their way through the breach. The day-long operation also resulted in the capture of 2 living Titans, but over 200 soldiers lost their lives in the process, including Marco from the 104th Training Corps. Eren wakes up chained in an underground jail cell where he's interrogated by Levi and Erwin Smith, commander of the Survey Corps. Erwin holds up the key to Eren's basement and informs him they will need his help to recapture Wall Maria and discover his father's hidden secrets. He asks Eren what his intentions are, to which Eren excitedly replies that he wishes to join the Survey Corps and kill the Titans. Intrigued, Levi asks Erwin to place Eren in his care and takes full responsibility for dealing with Eren if he betrays them. With that out of the way, Levi accepts Eren's application to the Survey Corps. News of the army working together with the Titan spread amongst the populace of the Middle Wall Rose and the Inner Wall Sanaa. Some people dismiss it as an absurd rumor. Some are overjoyed, while others view the Titan as a potential weapon that could one day be used against them by whoever controls it. A trial is set up to determine if Eren will be handed over to the Survey Corps, who desire to use him to recapture the Outer Wall Maria, or to the military police, who wish to execute him. The trial is presided over by Dallas Zachary, Commander-in-Chief of all 3 military regiments. Mikasa and Armin are called to serve as witnesses, while Hange Zoe of the Survey Corps informs Eren, whom had been locked in his cell for days, about the trial and escorts him to its location. The trial begins with both Nile Doc, commander of the military police, and Erwin giving opening statements and laying out their plans for Eren. When Zachary asks if he's willing to use his powers to serve humanity, Eren quickly answers yes. Eren is stumped when Zachary brings up his attack on Mikasa, having no memory of it himself. Mikasa tries to defend him by bringing up the 2 times Eren used his Titan form to defend her, but Niall intervenes by calling her biased, since the two grew up together. He also casts them both in a damaging light by bringing up the killing of the 3 kidnappers from their childhood. This revelation causes the crowd to become heated, turning on them both. Desperate to defend Mikasa, Eren becomes angry, calling them all cowards, and yells that if they're too scared to fight, they should at least let him fight in their stead. Niall orders a soldier to aim a gun at Eren, but before anyone can act, Levi approaches Eren and starts violently beating him, much to everyone's shock. Niall urges Levi to stop, as Eren may transform to defend himself. Levi casually informs him that even though Eren killed 20 other Titans in his transformed state, he could still easily take Eren down. He then turns to ask everyone else who was set on killing Eren if they could say the same. As they all stay silent, Eren proposes that Eren be sent out on an expedition under Levi's strict supervision, and that the results of the expedition be used to determine Eren's usefulness to humanity. Zachary agrees and provisionally hands over Eren to the Survey Corps. Escorted by Levi and his squad, Eren is transported to a former Survey Corps HQ where he's enlisted by Hange to help her with some experiments involving 2 captured Titans. Meanwhile, Erwin draws up plans for a large-scale expedition in 30 days to establish a supply chain base to quickly prove Eren's usefulness to the central government. To help with the expedition, Erwin reveals his intention of inviting any newly graduated cadet who wishes to join. The decision is met with confusion among the members of the Survey Corps, who consider it too hasty. When the next day dawns, Hange and Eren are greeted by some unexpected news. The 2 captured Titans were unexpectedly killed in the night by some soldier who fled the scene of the crime without being identified. An investigation is launched to identify the culprit. As the new cadets stand in line to have their ODM gear inspected for signs of recent unsanctioned use, Armin and Connie discuss which regiment they will join, as tonight is the deadline for their decision. Connie talks of how he thought he would wanted to join the Survey Corps, but has had this perspective completely shifted after facing Titans himself. With Jean announcing that he would join the Survey Corps the night before at Marco's funeral, Connie is no longer sure what the right decision is. He is surprised when he learns that Armin has already made up his mind too. That night, the recruiters gather in an assembly where Eren arrives and announces his intention to find new recruits for the Survey Corps. To Armin's astonishment, he reveals that their goal is to investigate the secrets hiding in the basement of Eren's former residence, making him wonder if Erwin has some ulterior motive for revealing such classified intel. Erwin does not shy away from painting a somber picture of the reality of the Survey Corps. He reveals a staggering 60% mortality rate within the past 4 years, while simultaneously announcing that new recruits will participate in an expedition 30 days from now, where roughly 30% of them are expected to perish. On that depressing note, he concludes his speech and asks those interested in joining other divisions to leave the assembly. A majority exit, Annie among them, leaving only a small, resolute group, mostly consisting of Eren and John's friends, including Connie, to whom Erwin offers his deepest respect. The newly inducted members immediately begin their training, primarily centered around mastering Erwin's long-distance scouting formation. Armin notices that the new recruits are not given Eren's location in the formation. Eren, accompanied by Levi's squad, is also taught the formation and the details of the mission. The experienced squad members note that while the plan seems simple on the surface, they suspect it has some deeper meaning that Erwin has kept hidden. When the new recruits arrive at the former HQ, Eren is taken aback to see Jean among the scouts, and devastated to learn of Marco's demise. Later that day, Jean confronts Eren about the rumors of him attacking Mikasa in his Titan form. After Mikasa attempts to defend him, Eren admits the truth and confesses his inability to control his powers fully. Despite the risk, Jean ultimately places his faith in Eren. A month passes, and the bells of the city toll, signaling the opening of the gates. The Survey Corps' 57th expedition commences with Erwin leading the soldiers beyond the protection of Wall Rose. They encounter Titans along the way, which are skillfully handled by a support squad accompanying them. After making some progress through an old town area, They arrive in full-blown Titan territory. At this point, the support squad departs and the main unit adopts Erwin's long-distance scouting formation. With the group covering a large area and maintaining considerable distances between each other to avoid attracting Titans, Armin finds himself relatively alone with his head on a swivel, striving to maintain composure. A red flare pierces the sky from the right flank, signaling a vanguard soldier sighting a Titan. Swiftly relaying the information to the inner ranks with a crimson flare of his own, Armin helps Erwin to lead the formation around with minimal Titan encounters. A while later, Armin notices a black flare signaling the appearance of an abnormal Titan. He relays the message, while two more experienced squad members expertly take it down. Their triumph is short-lived, however, when another 14-meter abnormal Titan emerges from behind them. The two brace themselves to repeat their strategy, when the mysterious female Titan suddenly accelerates with unexpected speed, effortlessly overtaking and eliminating them before Armin's horrified eyes. Sensing that this Titan is no ordinary abnormal, but a transformed human like Eren, Armin gallops forward, but to no avail, as the Titan easily catches up and shakes him off his horse. Petrified, Armin waits for his death, only for the female to lift its hood to get a good look at his face, before abruptly leaving. Both confused and shaken, Armin is discovered by Rainer, who offers him a fresh horse. The two begin to follow the female Titan from a distance. Jean also joins them, relaying news of the loss of many soldiers in the formation's right wing due to an onslaught of Titans. Realizing it's the same direction that the female Titan had come from, Armin informs Jean and Rainer of the high probability that the Titan is also a transformed human, likely the one that led the other Titans to their location. Armin ponders from her behavior that the female Titan might be looking for someone, presumably Eren. During their conversation, the three begin to realize they were all given different information on where Eren would be located within the formation. Armin deduces that his actual location is most likely in the center. With no way to relay the grave danger the female Titan poses, that is, the three resolve to buy time for the rest to retreat by stalling. They also pull their hoods up as a safety precaution before engaging. Jean's attempt to cut the female's leg tendon fails, and Armin is thrown from his horse during her retaliation. In the midst of the chaos, Rainer attempts to strike the Titan's nape, but she seizes him mid-air and seemingly crushes him with her thumb. Jean and Armin look on in horror, only for Rainer to emerge from the Titan's grip, slicing her fingers apart. Now, having distracted her to the best of their ability, the trio begin to flee, and the Titan, now seemingly uninterested, runs off. While Rainer expresses his relief, Armin is stunned when he realizes she's running toward the center, the place where Eren is most likely to be. Having lost most of their horses, the trio hide under the cover of a lightly wooded area. They fire an emergency flare just in case, which to their surprise is answered by Krista, who races towards them, leading two free horses beside her. The group race back to the formation, expecting a call for imminent retreat. They're taken aback when they discover the mission is continuing with an altered course. Meanwhile, at the formation's center, Levi and his squad receive a report that the right flank has been almost entirely lost, followed moments later by multiple flares signaling the presence of abnormal Titan located close by. That signal turns out to have been fired by a group of soldiers battling with the female Titan. The four work in tandem to distract the Titan, then launch an attack from multiple angles. However, the female simply jumps in the air, evading their strikes before eliminating two of them with precise hits before brutally killing the rest. The formation continues riding eastward, deviating from the original plan and ultimately arriving at a vast forest of giant trees. Erwin enters the dense woods, issuing a strict order that only the center of the formation should venture in. The other squads circle the forest and jump on top of the trees, tasked with preventing any Titans from infiltrating the woods. Inside the forest, a black smoke signal pierces the air behind Eren's group, signaling the arrival of an abnormal Titan. The Titan emerges from behind them, moving at an incredible pace. Reinforcements arrive from the rear, but only serve as momentary distractions as the female Titan effortlessly dispatches them, sparking panic among the soldiers. They desperately ask Levi permission to switch to their ODM gear and confront their pursuer, but Levi ignores their pleas. He simply instructs them to cover their ears before firing his flare gun, which rings out a resounding blast instead of a flare. He reminds the rest of the squad that their mission isn't to confront the Titan, but to protect Eren at all costs, and orders them to continue on horseback. More reinforcements arrive and Eren becomes increasingly distressed, knowing they'll be killed if Levi's squad doesn't turn around to help. Despite his protests, the rest of the squad tells him to follow Levi's orders and avoid jeopardizing the mission. Dissatisfied at not being a good reason and frantic to help in any way, Eren contemplates biting his hand to activate his Titan transformation. One of the squad members sees him about to act and tells him that he agreed not to do such a thing unless his life were on the line. This only stops Eren for a brief moment. Before he can finish his bite, Levi tells him that he is free to do as he pleases. This stops him dead in his tracks as Levi gives him a choice. Either trust the squad and their years of experience, or trust only himself and fight the female Titan head-on. After laying both options in front of him, Levi advises Eren to choose the option he will least regret. Despite his turmoil, Eren resolves to press on with the squad. The female Titan gains ground, closing in until it's right on top of them, when suddenly they reach an area covered with soldiers on all sides. Erwin orders everyone to fire, forcing it to quickly protect the nape of its neck. Grappling hooks are shot into nearly every area of the female Titan's body, enclosing her in a net of cables. Levi orders the rest of the group to park their horses further up, then switch to ODM gear and hide Eren away in the trees. He himself departs to rendezvous with Erwin, who commends him for masterfully leading the female Titan into the trap. Levi brushes it off, attributing their success to the brave sacrifices of their fallen comrades. Together they gaze at the captive Titan, eager to unveil the identity of the person concealed within its colossal frame. Now, having safely retreated to the treetops, Eren questions the secrecy surrounding this plan. Although a few squad members take offense at the implication that their leader didn't trust them, one member suggests the reason behind the secrecy lies in Erwin's suspicion of a spy within their ranks. He speculates that only the Survey Corps members who had survived the previous Titan attack 5 years prior were privy to this plan, as the spy most likely infiltrated their ranks after the wall fell. The squad also surmised that this spy was the one responsible for the deaths of Han's 2 captured Titans. At Erwin's orders, all of the remaining hooks are fired into the Titan's body to guarantee its immobilization. Meanwhile, attempts are made to cut through the Titan's hands, but the blades shatter on impact. Erwin deduces that the female Titan has the ability to harden an area of her skin similar to the armor Titan. He signals for his soldiers to prepare explosives, while Levi, standing on top of her head, asks the occupant within to surrender and save them the trouble. In response, the female Titan emits an ear-piercing scream that reverberates through the forest, surprising everyone. Titans that had previously been busy trying to attack the soldiers stationed at the outskirts of the forest suddenly begin rushing inward toward the source of the noise. Erwin orders everyone to speed up the deployment of the explosives while sending a squad to intercept the closest Titans. They engage, but the horde ignores them and slips past. Levi manages to kill a few, but the rest begin cannibalizing the female Titan. The soldiers attempt to defend her, but more arrive and they lose control of the situation. Realizing they failed, Erwin signals for everyone to retreat. Just as they're about to leave, Erwin notices a cloud of steam emanating from the corpse, reminding him of the steam that poured out of the colossal Titan's body before it disappeared. He orders Levi to refill his gas and his blades. Flares are fired to signal the withdrawal. Eren's squad prepares to leave, excited to learn the identity of the female Titan. Suddenly, They see another flare shot into the sky nearby. Assuming it to be Levi, they move forward toward it and meet up with a cloaked figure. Before they can react, the mysterious person strikes, killing one of them. Despite Eren's protest, the rest of the road urge him to leave the body behind and retreat instead. A few of the soldiers prepare to ward off the attacker when, to their shock, the cloaked figure transforms. Now, in a burst of amber lightning, the person reveals themselves as a female Titan. They use the cloud of steam to cloak their exit from the Titan's body while it was being eaten by the Horde. Now, face to face with his relentless pursuer once again, Eren resolves to confront the threat head-on, only for his comrades to urge him to have faith once more while they engage the foe. Though torn, Eren places his trust in his squad and continues his retreat. From a distance, he bears witness to Petra, Oro, and Eld's valiant efforts as they showcase their elite skills by means of blinding the Titan. While the female Titan backs up against a tree to wait for her eyes to regenerate, the three fiercely attack her arms and shoulders, hoping to disable her limbs and eliminate her before she can recover. Just as things look hopeful, Eren turns back to find the female Titan biting Eld in mid-air. Screaming in despair, he turns back to help the rest, but it's too late as they too meet a grim fate. Consumed by rage, Eren finally transforms, rushing towards her as his screams echo throughout the forest. All parties make their way toward the fierce battle between the Titans, which include Levi, who is forced to rush past the remains of his dead squad. Eren assaults the female Titan, who appears to be the more skilled of the two at hand-to-hand combat, evading many of his blows. Despite this, she's still forced back due to the sheer fierceness of Eren's blows, and falls to the ground. As he straddles the Titan, showering her with blows, Eren begins to blame himself for not utilizing his Titan form sooner. His intense emotional struggle manifests in erratic movements which the female Titan takes advantage of to unseat him. The female manages to use her hardening ability and demolishes his lower jaw, before receiving a heavy punch in return. Eren leans against a tree for a momentary breather. The female Titan, however, launches an incredible blow which decapitates him. Mikasa approaches only to find the female ripping the flesh from Eren's neck, revealing his human form, before devouring him and rushing off. In a fit of rage, Mikasa chases the fleeing Titan and begins ripping away at her body. The Titan managing to fend off a killing blow upon killing blow with her hardening ability. Before Mikasa can continue the pursuit, Levi arrives and stops her mad dash at the Titan, ordering her to maintain some distance. Assessing the situation, he instructs Mikasa to serve as a diversion while he goes on the offensive. Attacking with such speed that the Titan is unable to regenerate, Levi slices the Titan's arms and blinds its eyes. Seeing a vulnerability, Mikasa dives in to attack the Titan's nape. Picking up on a trap, Levi steps in to push Mikasa out the path of the Titan's blow, only to twist his ankle in the process. Despite the injury, he jumps up and slices the female's jaw, revealing Eren cocooned in her saliva. Admonishing Mikasa for her impulsiveness, Levi grabs Eren and tells Mikasa to leave the female Titan alone and to retreat. The two rush to safety, with Levi looking back and, to his surprise, sees tears running down the female Titan's cheeks. The Survey Corps regroup and make their way back to town. As they approach the wall, Eren wakes up and anxiously asks Mikasa about the female Titan, who tells him about the expedition's failure. Back in town, the devastated Survey Corps is forced to walk through a crowd of townsfolk. Some disparage them for their failure, and others question them about the absence of their loved ones. While Erwin directly faces the wrath of the people who question the purpose behind the seemingly meaningless expedition. Witnessing it all, Eren begins to weep while Mikasa holds his hand. In the Stoas district of Wal-Sanav, the military police receive orders to accompany the scout regiment's convoy upon their arrival in the capital. The newer cadets, including Annie, are ordered to accompany the caravan to bolster security. Once the convoy arrives in Stoas, Annie is beckoned into an alleyway by Armin. He asks for her aid in helping Eren escape from the capital while they prepare some justification to help overturn his transfer orders. Though initially hesitant, Annie yields to Armin's fervent pleas that this is the only way to save Eren from execution, and dons a ring before following after him. They're joined by Mikasa and Eren and make their way through the city unmolested. Armin leads them to the mouth of an underground tunnel when Annie becomes hesitant suddenly. She insists that she will only accompany them if they plan to move above ground. Eren starts to protest, but Annie reveals that she has noticed an absence of civilians around them, and Armin's wariness towards her. In response, Armin asks her why she presented Marco's equipment as her own when the cadets were being investigated for the death of the 2 captured Titans. Questioning why Armin is asking this now rather than a month earlier if he knew, Armin admits he had been reluctant to accept the truth. He reminds her that the reason they are having this conversation at all is because she spared his life too. Annie agrees, stating she had no idea he would end up cornering her to this degree. Eren, desperately hoping for this to be some misunderstanding, implores Annie to come with them and prove her innocence. Annie, however, refuses to budge. Ready for the inevitable confrontation which is about to erupt, Mikasa unsheathes her swords. Cornered and her identity now exposed, Annie begins to laugh, congratulating Armin on his victory. Armin signals for reinforcements who arrive and detain Annie within seconds. However, they're too late in stopping her as she uses a concealed blade within her ring to activate her transformation. Mikasa reacts the quickest, dragging Eren and Armin down into the tunnels as the earth shatters above them. The citizens of the district watch in horror as lightning falls within the heart of the city. Armin tells them both to regroup with the other Survey Corps members above ground and for Eren to transform and assist with capturing Annie. Ahead, they spot 2 comrades from the scout regiment when Annie's foot crashes through the tunnel, crushing them both and forcing the trio to retreat. Forced to transform underground, Eren desperately bites his hand multiple times, but to no avail. Mikasa rightly points out that this failure is due to his lingering disbelief regarding Annie's true identity. Mikasa and Armin exit the tunnels from 2 different sides to distract Annie. Undeterred, she continues stomping and manages to crush Eren under a bunch of debris. Mikasa confronts Annie, while Armin heads over to free Eren from the rubble. Meanwhile, the convoy escorting Erwin stops due to the disturbance. Erwin exits his carriage to tell Nile Dock of the military police to dispatch all of his soldiers. Eren exits from his carriage and removes his wig, revealing Jean had been in disguise all along. After receiving Erwin's permission, Jean heads off to back up Eren and the rest. As Erwin begins issuing the rest of the Survey Corps orders, Nile and the surrounding military police raise their guns at Erwin, telling him to stand down. Armin tells the barely conscious Eren that only people who can throw away their humanity are able to bring about real change. He proclaims that Annie is an example of such a person, and that Eren must do the same, before leaving to help Jean and the rest. Armin and Jean skillfully lure Annie across to a location where Hange lies excitedly waiting. When Annie approaches them, she and the other soldiers fire grappling hooks, immobilizing her with a heavy metal net. Annie is, however, able to kick some of the equipment away, making enough space for herself to shake off the rest and to flee. Trapped beneath the debris, Eren's mind grapples with Armin's words. Memories of his fallen comrades and the haunting image of his mother's demise ignite his determination. In an electrifying surge of power, Eren undergoes his transformation. Drawing attention of both friend and foe alike, with earth-shaking momentum, Eren charges through the city and punches Annie in the face, throwing her flying in the air into a nearby church. Annie gets up and continues to flee, with Eren following close behind, the 2 wreaking havoc within the district. Upon reaching an open area where the pursuing soldiers' ODM gear would be relatively useless, Annie turns around to face Eren. The two begin exchanging blows, and the nearby soldiers express worry that capturing the female Titan might bring the town to ruin. Hange informs him it was Erwin's decision to capture Annie, regardless of the damage. Soldiers inform Niall of the escalating situation, and the furious Niall asks Erwin if this was his doing. Erwin calmly confirms his suspicion, saying it was all for mankind's victory. Niall calls him a traitor and threatens to shoot him. The ever-composed Erwin tells him he has no problem with that, and starts giving out instructions on how best to handle the operation after his death. Realizing his sincerity, Niall lowers his weapon and has Erwin handcuffed. He then orders the rest of the troops to carry out evacuation and rescue operations. Annie and Eren continue their bout, Annie managing to disable one of Eren's legs. With Eren on the ground, Annie starts pounding him with repeated blows as memories of her father's words ring in her ears. Despite being seriously injured, rage fuels Eren to get back up and tackle Annie to the ground. Annie manages to get Eren off her back and jumps onto the wall in an attempt to climb over and to escape. Suddenly, Mikasa flies in, cutting off her fingers, which throws her back down. Eren pounces on her and begins to rip apart the finally exhausted female Titan. Annie continually relives her father's words, telling her he will always be on her side, and asks her to promise she will come back to him. Eren rips off the Titan's nape, revealing her body underneath. He hesitates for a second, an opportunity which Annie takes to crystallize herself into a protective cocoon. Eren nearly fuses with her, but is saved by Levi, who cuts him out of his Titan form. Attempts to break Annie out of her protective shell prove futile, and Hange orders it to be transported to a secure location. While the operation cannot be deemed a true success, Erwin tells Levi that this will be enough for the Survey Corps to keep their head above water for now. When called in for questioning by enraged officials who ask why he kept this operation a secret from the military police, he replies he had to ensure that no information leaked, as the consequences of letting Annie get away would have been significantly more catastrophic. While they rue the fact that the female Titan can no longer be questioned, Erwin assures them that humanity has come a long way in a short amount of time, and confidently asserts it is now their turn to declare war on the rest of the Titans within the walls. While everyone prepares for the next stage of this war, a shocking revelation occurs when a section of Wall Sanaa, damaged during Annie's escape attempt, falls apart, revealing the face of a Titan living dormant within.